Hey, good morning, I think it is. I hope the weekend's keeping you well. I just wanted to do a quick video on my diesel heater. I use this to basically warm up my shed, and we're just going to strip it down and, well, do some checks and maintenance, just clean it out basically. It's been about a year or so since I last touched this. I haven't really done too much maintenance for it, it's just worked. And the only time I had a problem was when the fuel hose needed replacing. That was it really. Anyway, the reason I like this heater is because it comes with this nice little remote, and if you're in the house and you don't want to get cold, you just stick it on, leave it for an hour or so, and your shed's nice and warm. Or, oh, so I should go into what do people actually use these things for. Where's the diesel heater? An 8 kilowatt apparently. Typically, you can use these in like van conversions or outside spaces, outside but inside spaces that you want to warm up off. You don't want to run central heating or gas or anything like that. It's a very easy way. This is £100. It comes with the entire kit, fuel tank, everything, to get you going basically. So very good, very useful. Now, whether it's cheaper than running electric, I think it is a little bit cheaper if you get cheap fuel, let's put it that way. But otherwise, yeah. Now, let's strip this down. I can tell it needs a little bit looking at, as you can see. Oh, here's the intake, by the way. So air goes in there in a combustion chamber. Air comes out here. It looks a bit sooty. There's fuel in here. And this basically will bolt the outside, so all the combustion side is on the outside. Air intake there. Exhaust there for the heating, as you can see. Nice big matrix there. Probably noticed I've got tape on it. It's because oh, I took some of the paint off. It's because the seal on here isn't great, so it leaks a little bit of air. So I just thought, you know what, just because I'm a little bit OCD with those things. I probably noticed the microphone's a little bit different. It's because I can't find the USB-C to. Basically, my microphone plugs into the video recording stuff, and I can't find the adapter for it. So I'm gonna have to order another one. So, oh well. Hopefully this will suffice. Anyway, now how does this thing work? I did a terrible drawing and it is pretty bad, so I apologise in advance. Hopefully you can see that. This is like a side view of this unit over here. So if you imagine this air going around, it is like the air going around the. Well, I'll probably do both together, can't I? Like that. If you get the idea. So air intake. So it mixes the fuel and air with the fan. The same motor, ironically, sits here. The motor. It deals with a fan that pushes the air around the unit, and also it has on the other side the fan blade that then pushes the air into the combustion chamber. It's all aluminium. It's all cast aluminium. So air comes in here. It mixes the fuel. That's done by one of these guys. Stand by. If I can find it. That's always hilarious. It's like a piston slug kind of approach. Oh, sorry if my audio is a bit quiet. It's a slug sort of piston approach. This is like the pump they use. Basically, they come in various sizes, like 15, 21, 65, 30-ish. So every time you push 12 volts through here, it will click, and then when you take the 12 volts off, it will go back the other way. So it's like a little piston that shoots back and forth. But it will give. So if it's a 22 mil, it gives 1/1000th of that each time you pulse it. So barely anything. So when this thing's running, it'll probably be maximum pulsing is 5 times a second. If you get the idea. So you can work how much fuel it uses. Anyway, so yeah, that pulses into here. Oh, there's also a glow plug that I haven't shown. Fires it down the steel part of the chamber. Obviously, this is where it's the hottest part is. Then that wraps around, and this is like a heat sink that sits around it with vanes, and it then wraps around that, comes back out the exhaust. Now what happens is, what can happen if your fuel isn't good, or you've got contaminants, or it's not burning right, is it all sits up in here and in here where it spreads the flame out. And, it doesn't run as well, basically. You can be throwing more, energy or wasted energy out the exhaust. Meant to be taken apart too often. But anyway, let's get into pulling this apart and not breaking it. the glow plug sits in around here basically, or sorry, around there. What it does is the fuel hits the glow plug, it has a mesh on it. The mesh then atomizes it, and the glow plug just gets the initial burn going basically. Glows really hot, ironically glow plug glows. You wouldn't want to put your hand on it, let's put it that way. Right, pull this apart. I will fast forward at times just to save you the aggro that I will probably have. But first thing you got to do, very, very hard. This is like an inspection. Now I have been here before, as I said. It's because, I'll show you. Nice cast bit of aluminium there. As you can see, that heatsink. So as I say, this spins, blows air through this, and this is what cools the combustion chamber down. There you go, what you got here. So this little wire here is actually where this device knows how hot it gets, so it can shut down if it gets too hot. Now my little thermistor, the little temperature sensor in there broke, so I replaced it with a heater bed, like hot end nozzle, you know, the 3D printers you get. So I just stuck one of those in there. It was 100k NTC, I believe. But anyway, let's continue in delving in. What the hell do I need this? It looks like Allen keys. Now, the question is, where are the Allen keys? 1 second. Here they are. Let's take a spot. Yeah, I've been quite happy with this actually. Like really, really good purchase. You know, because there's nothing worse than being in the shed or your garage. Might need a bigger one if you want a garage, but this heats up you know, I would say almost a small garage size. In about, I have up to 18, so it takes about 2 hours to do that. You know, from cold outside temperature. Let's get that off. Let me just concentrate on not breaking this. Okay. Oh, this guy here. What actually I remember, if I'm correct, is this should actually slide out. No, I can't remember how. Oh, still warm. There we go. Get that out of there. Into my very small space. Okay. As you can see, fuel rail comes up here into the burn chamber. So this is the, I'm going to probably save these because they're going to vibrate otherwise if I don't. Put those down there. Alright, probably going to need this guy off, so let's disconnect the flow plug. We'll probably have to take that off as well. Temperature sensor. I don't think it matters which way this goes on or not. I might make a plug for that while I'm here actually and shorten that cable. Fan. Okay, main board off. Glow plug, hello. Now these are fragile, so you've got to be careful not to break them, and they're like about 25 quid here in the UK. So you don't want to break them and need to replace them. I'm going to gradually wobble the rubber out. Probably actually it is a little bit easier now it's warm, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's bloody hot. Let's move you out of the way. As you can see, that's in there nice and tight. It looks like it's got a nut style head, so we'll come to that. Now I do want to replace the bearings in this, but again, can't find them. I think they're 608Zs, but mine's squeaking at low power. You know, not the end of the world, it still works, but you know, an inconvenience more than anything else. Alright, so we've got 4 more takeoffs, so let's just fast forward through that. Alright, good, that's done. Normally you'd have to crack the seal here, but it's actually, there's a gasket basically that seals these together. But it seems to just come apart. So this is a dual fan thing I was talking about. So that one's a bit sooty, a bit warm, I have to say. But let's just check for play in those bearings. So if it, no, I'm not really seeing much in there, so it might just be a lack of oil in the bearings. It'll eventually go, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. Now, what do we have here? So here's that glow I was talking about. Well, actually, so we're going to next take off this. This is the burn chambers. This is made out of steel. Air comes down here. Pretend it's coming in. These are like angled slots. I don't know if you can see that. Little angled veins. So basically, it causes it to go to vortex. Very good for fuel mixing and distribution. So it forces air in there, and then that goes inside this burn chamber part that we'll take off in a sec. So it looks like the fuel pipe comes in here. It's got a rubber sleeve. We'll have to take this off. I probably don't have the right tools for that, but you know, we'll wing it. All right, let me do that, and back in a sec once I take this glow plug off. All right, well that's the glow plug. I don't know if you hopefully it's in focus. Let me try adjusting that. So this part here will actually glow red hot when you put quite a lot of energy into it. This is what gets it started. So as you can see, the fuel comes in here. Let me zoom in on that. The fuel comes in here. Then there's a mesh that I need to remove still. The glow plug's in there. Basically, it always hits the mesh. It causes it to disperse because it's super hot at the time. Then it gets basically by vacuum, well, part by vacuum, I think, pulled into the burn chamber and spiraled around with the air. So let me put that somewhere safe. There we go. And now I'm going to try and retrieve the mesh. You know what, I might actually do that once the burn chamber's out. Alright, so this will move out. Let me undo this and I'll be back with you momentarily. Okay, right, let's try and remove this now. This has got a green gasket, as you can see. It might, oh, it also does not need cracking. It's great time. It's looking pretty good. Let me just flip it over for you. It's very hot. Ow. I don't know if you can see in there because it's like the black abyss, but actually it's not too bad. Now it's got, yeah, I'd say a little bit, but it's actually stayed pretty clean, so that's good. I'll still clean it up either way. And then this is the steel burn chamber part. It's hard to show you that torch. I might go get one actually. Be right back. Okay, well, couldn't find a torch that actually worked, and I've misplaced my super bright one. So, let's do some cleaning anyway. This is much cooler now to play with. So we can't actually get this part off without upsetting these rivets, and I don't fancy doing that, as it does work, and no my luck, I will break it. So let me just get the brush. Whoops. You have too much stuff. And go with the steel brush and see what we can get off this. Alright, there we go. A bit cleaner now. Easy if I can get you to see that. A little bit of soot, but as I said, it's burning really nicely, so just cleaned up, just check over. I saw the gasket had actually split, so that's going to be fun. If I don't get this back right, obviously it's going to leak exhaust gases in the air chamber. So normally with gaskets like that, that one's a bit different, but just hold it in place. I'll put a bit of grease on it. My friend, grease. There it is. You can use gasket sealer, of course, but I do not have any. I hate this stuff because it's yucky. But all I'm going to do is just check this isn't loose. A bit here. It's good because it gets absorbed in. It holds it in place. It's obviously, it's an oil as well, so, well, grease-based, but if there is it's good for like waterproofing gaskets as well, so I've used it on like cars, etc. Or you can use gasket seal, much better, but say I don't have it. Put this guy back in there. Be very careful. Lucky it's over a bolt hole really, because it'll stop it sliding out too much, but okay. This will burn off anyway on its first operation. Yeah, a little bit dirty. Should have put gloves on. You know, I also should not have worn a shirt. You know how these things go. Clean the hands off. So clean up where the gasket's going to sit. It's actually quite rough, so it's not going to be the best seal anyway. I could obviously clean that more, but it's going to get a little bit more blasted out when it turns on. And it's a combustion chamber. It's going to get dirty. Well, to some degree anyway. Alright, let's put it back together. I'll speed all this up for you because you've obviously saw it coming apart. And I'll be back with you in a minute. Alright, well, that's that back together. As you saw, I took the end off. That was just to slide those rubbers back in because it pins the unit in and also stops it vibrating, that's the case. So now it's time to put it back on the wall. Put these guys back. As you can see, one of them de-threaded. Well, it's a stud basically, so it just undid from the wrong side. Not the end of the world. Alright, and then I'll show you a video of it starting up. Hopefully for the first time since I cleaned it out. Well, hopefully being the upper hand word there. Back in a moment. Alright, welcome back. Let me excuse the mess. This is where it is. Let's plug it back in and hopefully it'll run. Phone mount things, camera mount thing. Plug back in, I hope. Oh yeah, so it goes up to this controller here basically, and I've got, I think, everything else plumbed back in. Yeah, it comes. I'll put that back in a bit. What's important? Okay, it's probably gonna have air in the fuel line, so it might take a fire or two to get going, but we'll find out. Can you hear the squeak? No, of course not. We'll get a little bit of feedback, hopefully, with that temperature sensor. It should give us case temperature, I think. 5 degrees. It's probably about right. You know, they've got a little bit of air on these things anyway. And I guess we'll wait a moment and see if it fires up. So it's going to, first of all, as you can see, starting to glow up. It's going to burn off anything that's in the chamber. It's just a fail-safe they put in. And it's just indicating it's in, and air takes a rolling. Fan's rolling. Good. Obviously you won't hear it because it's got a lot of silence in it, but a good indicator that it started obviously is that casing temp rising. And this is also what this uses, along with the flame detection. Actually, it doesn't have it on this model, it just uses the case temperature. It does on the Webasto. This is a Chinese copy. Should also get a fuel pump. I think it comes up here or somewhere around here, saying that it's pumping. Look, fuel symbol. We will find out if it errors. Oh, see the fuel's now coming on. So it should start howling soon. Yep, that's it. Cool. Alright, be back in a minute and when it's all up and running. Alright, well, it's running. It's still warming up, but as you can see, it's running fine, so that's good to see. 95 degrees in casing temperature. Happy days. Alright, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you next time.